Hello and welcome to my Yu-Gi-Oh channel. Please have a look at my content if you're interested in new Yu-Gi-Oh news. Make sure to like the video also if you've enjoyed it. Today we're looking at new cards that are coming out of Phantom Rage. Basically this was a stream confirmed in Japan, and it had a few people kind of discussing brand new cards as a bit of a spoiler. It looked over various aspects, including Kyosuke's voice actor, who I think is the one who played Callan Kessler, who was the user of the Infernity monsters within Yu-Gi-Oh! 5Ds. So the first card we've got is Raider's Knight. This is a rank 4 Dark Warrior Xyz monster with 2000 attack and 0 defense. It requires 2 level 4 Dark monsters. This card is always treated as the Phantom's Knight and Raid Raptor card. You can only use the effect of this card's name once per turn. 1. You can attach 1 Xyz material from this card. Special summon from your extra deck 1 the Phantom Knight's Raid Raptor or Xyz Dragon Xyz monster that is 1 rank higher or 1 rank lower than this card by using this card as material, but it is destroyed during your end phase of your opponent's next turn. This is treated as an Xyz summon and transfer this card's materials to the summon monster. So potentially you can go into actually some very powerful Xyz monsters. You've got quite a variety to go into, considering that each of the archetypes has multiple Xyz monsters. I would say the kind of downside is that you can't go into... It would be nice if you could go into a rank 4 monster as well, because the thing is you can either go into rank 3 or rank 5. Some of the rank 4s are reasonably decent as well and provide some kind of advantage. If it had that level of flexibility, I think that would also be great for the deck. The next card is Nega Logia AA-Zeus. It's a rank 12 Light Machine Xyz effect monster with 3000 attack and 3000 defense, and it requires 2 level 12 monsters. Once per turn, if an Xyz monster battled that turn, you can also Xyz summon Nega Logia AA-Zeus by using 1 Xyz monster you control as material. Transfer its materials to this card. As a quick effect, you can detach 2 Xyz materials from this card. Send all other cards on the field to the graveyard. 2. Once per turn, if another card you control is destroyed by battle or by your opponent's card effect, you can choose 1 card from your hand, deck or extra deck and attach it to this card as Xyz material. So this card is brilliant for what it does. You're not going to be summoning it through the using 2 level 12 monsters. I mean, level 12 monsters themselves are quite difficult to summon, the few that are in existence. Second, you know, if you just having Xyz monsters is enough to just bring this card out, really. So why would you bother? The first effect is very similar to like Exiton Knight, and actually wipes out all of the cards. So if your opponent has established a very strong board, this is a good way of actually getting rid of it. Kind of the downside of that is, you know, your opponent is going to see this and they're going to think, I'm going to get rid of this before they can actually do anything. So if they've got like a Solemn Warning, Solemn Judgment, Solemn Strike, something like that, or some kind of negation effect, they're going to definitely use it against this card. Although the benefit is, of course, it being a quick effect means it can be used during either turn. The other thing about its second effect helps to fuel its first effect by actually having more Xyz material equipped to this card. It does require that one of your cards is destroyed either by battle or by card effect. So either you're going to have to force that to happen. Your opponent isn't going to just let you go into free materials. They're going to try and get rid of this card rather than, say, any of your other cards first. The next card is Excited Malthus. It's a rank 2 Earth Beast Xyz effect monster with 2000 attack and 500 defense. It requires 2 or more level 2 beast monsters. You can use the second effect of this card's name once per turn. 1. You can detach 1 Xyz material from this card. During this turn, Your Malthus monsters can attack your opponent directly. 2. During your opponent's turn, as a quick effect, you can target one Beast Xyz monster you control, return that Xyz monster to its owner's extra deck, then special summon level 2 or lower Beast monsters from your graveyard up to the number of Xyz materials that that monster had. So the first part of this effect is being able to attack directly is okay, but most of the Malthus monsters don't have many attack points. I'd say I think this is the highest with 2,000, which is okay, but again, you know, it's only for certain situations where this could be particularly useful. The second part of the effect basically allows you to kind of scrap your Xyz monster to be able to bring out the Xyz materials to maybe change it into something else. This is potentially quite decent if, for example, your monster has a effect that can activate on your opponent's turn, or has some kind of protection effect. But I do see the downside being that it has to be you're targeting a Beast Xyz material, and then of course that is in itself a limitation. There's only a few out there, and that's kind of the inability and limited effect of it, because the chances are, you know, you're gonna only be able to Xyz summon into either a level or rank 2 or a rank 1, and there aren't too many powerful ones out there. The next card we've got is actually an introduction to more Infernity cards, and this is Infernity Wildcat. It's a level 3 Dark Fiend tuner effect monster with 1,400 attack and 0 defense. You can special summon only one card with this card's name per turn with its first effect, and you can only use the second effect of this card's name once per turn. 1. You can special summon this card from your hand by sending one other Infernity monster from your hand to the graveyard, and 2. If you have no cards in your hand, you can banish one Infernity monster from your graveyard, increase or decrease this card's level by 1 until the end of the turn. So I think this card is incredibly flexible for the deck and works a lot better than some of its other cards. The reason I say that is, firstly, the Infernity archetype works based on having no cards in your hand, so actually discarding a card to bring this to the field means you're actually getting closer to that condition. The second part of the effect, with level manipulation, helps to adjust levels. There aren't too many synchro monsters out there that is within Cannon's deck. I know there's a synchro monster in here that's a level 6 as well, but there's also, I think there's 2 level 8s. There's an Infernity Doom Dragon and there's the 100 Eyes Dragon. So you've got two level 8s and now a level 6. But having that level 6 actually is a better idea, because it's something that which may be easy to go into. Also, you can adjust this card's level from either a level 4 or a level 2 if you want to. But of course you've got the option of not doing that and keeping it as a level 3. The next card is Infirmity Conqueror. It's level 3 Dark Fiend effect monster with 1,200 attack and 900 defense. You can only use the second effect of this card's name once per turn. 1. If you have no cards in your hand, your opponent's monsters lose 800 attack. 2. If this card is in your graveyard and you have no cards in your hand, you can special summon this card, but banish it when it leaves the field. So again, this card is incredibly useful for the deck. For starters, having your opponent's monsters lose a specific figure of 800 attack is decent, as this is a decent level of attack to lose. The second part of the effect, to recover itself, means you can use it for, say for example, a synchro summon, or you could always use it to tribute for something like an Infernity Archer. But then again, you can also use it for other effects, so its versatility is decent. The next card is Infirmity Paranoia. It's a normal spell card. You can only activate one card with this card's name per turn. 1. Tribute one dark monster. Special summon one Infernity monster from your deck or graveyard with the same level and a different name, but its effects are negated. And 2. During the main phase, except the turn it was sent to the graveyard, you can banish this card from the graveyard and target one Infernity monster in your graveyard to add that monster to your hand. So the first part of the effect, all of the Infernities are dark attribute, so you can swap any of the others to bring out something else. Of course that monster does lose its effect, but chances are you're probably going to use it for the synchro summoning of one of your synchro monsters. So it's kind of a stepping stone card. The second effect is also really good. It's kind of a recovery card. Think of it like Warrior Returning Alive, specifically for the Infernity archetype. Being able to do this, even though it's on a separate turn, means that you're adding to the consistency of your deck, especially when having no cards in your hand can actually be quite a scary thing in most types of duels, even for Infernity players. The next card is Infernity Hell Archfiend. It's level 6 Dark Fiend Synchro effect monster with 2200 attack and 1600 defense. It requires 1 tuner and 1 or more non-tuner monsters. And the effect is, once per turn, you can target one face card on the field, negate its effects until the end of the turn, and if you have no cards in your hand, you can destroy it. 2. If this card battles an opponent's monster, any battle damage this card inflicts to your opponent is doubled while you have no cards in your hand. And 3. A dark synchro monster summoned using this card as synchro material can make up to 2 attacks on monsters during each battle phase. So this card actually provides a lot of balance for the deck, and actually provides support in a few different ways. For starters, it requiring generic cards to bring it out means that you can actually splash other things into the deck, although I don't actually know why you'd want to, considering what you're actually already being given here within new support. The first effect, to be able to shut down your opponent's an opponent's effect, means you can actually not only target a monster, but you can actually do this with either a spell or a trap card if you want. Chances are you're probably going to use it on a monster that maybe has battle protection or some other protection, because that way you can actually destroy it instantly without actually having to go into battle with it. This is particularly useful against cards which have trigger effects, or effects that would eventually kind of either banish this card or kind of punish you for going into battle with it. The second part, to do with inflicting double battle damage, can also be quite useful later on in the game, where life point damage is incredibly important, and any damage that your opponent takes, double or not, seems to be a little bit scary for them. The third part of the effect is actually a benefit for any of the other 2 synchro monsters which I mentioned, Doom Dragon or 100 Eyes Dragon, with the ability to attack into 2 monsters each, means you can potentially clear an opponent's board quite easily. It also, 100 Eyes Dragon kind of benefits from having the effect where it can absorb effects from some of your own cards from the graveyard, if you have no cards in your hand. So, I mean, for example, I think there's the Infernity Dwarf, which does, which enables it to do piercing damage. So if your opponents are playing something defensively, you can attack into those and inflict the battle damage. You also have this Infernity monster, I can't remember its name offhand. It's a 2300 attack level 6 monster, where if you basically destroy your opponent's monster, I think it does like 1600 points of effect damage. So if you can use that effect twice, that's 3200 points of damage. Imagine what you could do if you have multiple of those synchro monsters out. The next card is Infirmity Suppression. This is the final card for the support, and it's a normal trap card. If you can only activate 1 card with this card's name per turn. If you have no cards in your hand, you can activate this card during the turn it is set. When your opponent activates a monster effect, while you control an Infernity monster, negate that effect, then you can inflict damage to your opponent equal to its level times 100. This card is actually incredibly brilliant for what it does. It gives you some level of flexibility. It doesn't have to be a case where you have no cards in your hand. It just provides you that additional benefit if you're able to do what kind of the deck likes to do. That kind of level of flexibility means it can be used during either player's turn. The ability to suppress an opponent's monster's effect means you can actually disrupt their plays, especially if they're working on combo-based decks. The effect damage is mute. It's really not going to do too much. Your opponent is probably going to use the effects of a level 4 or a very slightly higher monster, which means you're doing maybe 600, 700 points of damage at most. But, that's always the kind of trade-off you have with some of these cards. I mean, you wouldn't want it too powerful anyway, otherwise this would be just too ridiculous support. What do you think of these cards? Is this something you would consider using now within the Infernity archetype? Do you like that archetype and actually see these cards as a way of actually making them a little bit more competitive? Or do you think these cards are just kind of a little bit of a hype for the time being and are going to eventually fall off the radar? Whatever you think, leave your comments down below. Like the video if you enjoyed it, and don't forget to subscribe.